said anything, so I'm just.
Kids, get your popcorn now. Let me tell you the story of the space Viking, Thor Odinson. He was no ordinary man. He was a god. After saving planet Earth for the 500th time, Thor set off on a new journey. Well, he got in shape. He went from dad bod to god bod. And after all that, he reclaimed his title as the one and only Thor. Oh, spoke too soon.
Jane? The old ex-girlfriend.
What's it been, like 3, 4 years?
8 years, 7 months, and 6 days, give or take.
Am I, sensing feelings?
Well, you're right.
The only ones who gods care about is themselves.
So this is my vow. All gods will die. I just want to say that was very, very impressive what you did back there.
He's just my first bad guy.
You never forget your first.
You are not like the other gods of kill.
Because I have something worth fighting for.
Let's see who you are. I take off your disguise. And flick.
Oh,
You flipped too hard, damn it!
Should we help him?
And eventually, grape.
Welcome, everybody. Wow, that was a super dope trailer.
That's a good trailer.
It was a really good trailer. Like, Jesus, I'd watch this movie based off the trailer. Yes, we are here to discuss Thor, Love, and Thunder.
Oh, already. You weren't going to say anything. And...
I wasn't. I kind of saved that for the actual episode. I told you I wasn't going to sing, but I had to get that off. But no, we're here to discuss Thor, Love, and Thunder. And yes, it is going to be myself and Roy for now. For a second, we will have a third eventually at some point. But you know what, Roy? We'll start with you.
Well, you already spoiled it for everybody what you feel, but I adored this movie. Great
point that you bring up. This is going to be spoilers, so we're
like 100% because I don't think we can really talk about.
Yes, it's impossible
movie,
to talk. Yeah. So
we're
going to
without
movie 100%.
full spoilers.
Right. So go ahead.
Yeah, I adored this movie. I think it has some real weaknesses. Like I think the first 15 to 20 minutes are just kind of like flaw. Like the sort of. It's actually a very structured, very similar to Ragnarok, which it's like Act 1 is destroying the previous Thor status quo.
Right.
Part 2 is like, and where you also then find out the villain. And then part 2 is this like secondary adventure that's kind of tied to where the like main plot is going to go, but it's really just this interlude. And then the third is like going and fighting the villain that the movie promised you at the end of Act 1. Right, like it's the same kind of thing. I don't think it works like as well as Ragnarok, but I felt that the character moments of this movie were stronger than Ragnarok. I think Jane is really strong. I think Gore is really good. It's different than the comics Gore, very different. Like if you want like the Jason era Jane storyline, Jane storyline, you get that in this movie. If you want the Jason Aaron Gore storyline, you do not get that in this movie, which a lot of people are upset about, which is understandable. But I think for where they set Gore up in this movie, I really enjoyed him. I think that Hemsworth's performance gets better later in the movie. I think, particularly when he starts interacting with Natalie Portman, like I think they play off each other well. And I just really adored it because maybe I'm just like all the themes of this movie are hitting me where I am right now
In the fields.
in my life, like the
Right.
themes of like trying to figure out your life, letting go, moving on, like, you know, perspective, like thinking about what your future is. These are all sort of like things that speak to me right now, and that could be what hit me. But I like adored it. I came out like being like, this was really just a really enjoyable and emotional experience for me.
Okay, that's perfect.
Oh,
Welcome,
perfect.
Dr. KB featuring Mr. Crosby. You gonna change that at some
I've
point?
been waiting for a minute to get in.
Okay, all right. So you know what? I'm gonna save the best for last, me. But go ahead, KB. What did you think about this movie? Without going too much into it, because we're gonna have questions later on. But what did you think? Just let us know. Pretty brief.
I was disappointed as a Marvel fan. I was really disappointed by this movie.
Okay.
Like as a
Wow.
fan of Thor, as a fan of the comics, as a fan of Taika Waititi, I was really disappointed.
Correct. That's fair.
Like I was actually embarrassed because I
Wow.
bragged about
That
this movie to a
is
lot of
strong.
people, and then seeing the people who I saw it
So
with, and
is this your Man of Steel? Because I bragged about it. I bragged about BVS and Man of Steel, so I'm embarrassed, and I don't think
yeah,
I'm
this
doing
was
it
my
like
Man of
that.
Steel. Like I definitely
Wow.
came out with egg on my face on this one, and I felt real
Wow.
bad. Honestly, I felt worse about this than I did about
Multiverse of Madness.
Multiverse of Madness. And if you remember, I was super excited for that movie, and I was just like, But this one I felt worse about because I knew that it was going to make this a home run.
You know what? I'm there with you a little bit, right? So this is where I am, right? I was very like again coming off Ragnarok. I defend to this day because there are a lot of people. I defend Thor in Endgame. I'm sorry, in the last two Avengers movie. It's because I like his progression. I like what they did, especially coming off Ragnarok into Infinity War and I defend all of that, right? I'm expecting progression. I don't think I got any progression. I think they're just like, ooh, Ragnarok, Thor Ragnarok, and we're just gonna get the same. You know, yes, there's gonna be some themes that are different, but I feel like we got more of the same for starters. Um, I'm gonna say something that might be a little bit egregious, but I miss Tom Hiddleston and Chris Hemsworth together on screen. I think what has really, really worked in every Thor movie, even if you didn't like the second, is their chemistry. I think them not being here in this movie or having, again, you can feel it. I think they tried to use Jane to do that, and they also tried to use Valkyrie to do that. It didn't work for me as well. Or Korg. I think Korg was supposed to be his, but it doesn't really work for me. They don't have that same chemistry. And so I didn't like a lot of the character moments. I think the thing I thought Jane was cute. Um Natalie Buffman.
Yeah.
Come on,
Yeah.
mommy. Like what?
All right, we learned who Mo wants to have step on him. That's okay.
Until She-Hulk. But I don't know. I think what it is I think we discussed this in we're talking Miss Marvel, Roy. I think it's expectations versus what you get. I think the best way to now start approaching these properties is to not really have it set so high. Because again, I was
But
just
Marvel
like,
did this to themselves. Like being
look,
honest,
we'll get into that.
Marvel.
We'll get into that.
All right.
We'll get into that in a little bit. It's just not, we talked about this again with Miss Marvel, and I think with the Marvel TV shows, it's just not. It's just to come in fresh, like just whatever I get, right? And then it could surpass your expectations, or it could just leave you feeling okay. I wish I came into this movie not super expecting a lot, but I did, and I didn't even leave feeling okay. So now the question is, before we actually go into the rest of this movie, I think this is Roy asked this in Doctor Strange. Is this the movie that was it Doctor Strange or was it?
I've been asking that
since Eternals.
Yeah, he's been asking this for a while.
Yeah.
Right? Is this the movie that breaks the?
Is this the? I don't think I don't.
No, it's not.
I don't think so. Before the pre-show,
Black Panther.
Yeah, Mo and I were discussing whether Black Panther, a movie that may feature no white people, whether or not that will break the fandom. I don't think this does. I think what it does do is it takes a lot of the enthusiasm out of the fandom. That's what I've been feeling. There's two movies in a row that are really divisive. Right. Like I think the pandemic era was pretty also divisive for Marvel fandom. Like people didn't love Black. Like some people hate Black Widow. Eternals, there were very few people who liked that film. And then Spider-Man, like everyone loved it, right?
Yeah, Spider-Man.
And then that kind of was everyone's like, yeah, MCU again. And then these last two movies being very divisive, and I feel like this one might end up being more divisive than Doctor Strange. Well, because I think we were all kind of like middle of the road about Doctor Strange, if I remember right, where we thought there was some strongs and
very kind of mid. It was just very like mid,
high highs, low lows. I think
low
is
lows,
kind of where we.
But see, Doctor Strange had a benefit that a lot of other movies didn't have. No. Well, that's another benefit. But the thing about it was a lot of people didn't like the first Doctor Strange movie. So in defense, some people went into this Doctor Strange movie with low expectations. It was like, I'm gonna see what Marvel's gonna do. And then when they saw who was directing it, it was like, okay, my lower expectations are raised, but I'm not sure how this is gonna be because the last time we saw him touch a comic book property was Spider-Man 3. You get what I'm saying? So it was like, yeah, we're excited. We don't know where this is going to go. And then you had that split between, yo, I love this versus what is this on my screen? Please get this off my screen. And honestly, after rewatching it, I actually graded it higher than I did initially.
Interesting.
Yeah. But
I haven't rewatched it.
I haven't watched it either. I just haven't gotten around to it.
It's
I did when they put it on
because
Disney
I have a friend or a couple who didn't see it in theaters watch it recently, and they feel like it's multiverse of midness, and it's very mid. They were not very impressed with it. I would have asked. I should have asked like what about it wasn't very interesting? Was it the direction or was it just Doctor Strange himself? But I think again with Doctor Strange, you've seen progression from Doctor Strange 1 to, and then all his Avengers movies. How many Avengers movies was he in? 2, right?
Just three technically. Oh, two Avengers movies. My bad.
2 Avengers movies and Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, right.
I was thinking about
useless
Ragnarok.
appearance of any character in a
he's had again like Thor some sort of progression, right?
Oh, and Spider-Man.
Before,
right, he was in Spidey too. Yeah,
Spider-Man before you see, and so that also gets you excited for Multiverse of Madness. Is like, I wonder what thread from Spider-Man you're gonna pull into this movie, but apparently none. It's kind of, which was weird to me. Did they do that?
They talked about Spider-Man a few times in the movie.
They talked about it,
like
but there was like no consequence. Maybe there's going to be consequences later, but the consequences, I don't know. Anyways, we're talking Thor. So again, like Thor, like Doctor Strange, I've seen progression with Thor, especially when you see him with the Guardians in, I think, and Infinity War. Right,
he's with half the Guardians in Infinity War,
right,
and then
what did he do?
Then the end of Endgame, he's with them too.
Yes, so I'm like, okay, great. We're gonna see great progression. I don't think I saw progression with the character. I thought they were very okay with what they did with him in Ragnarok again to revive the character. I think Ragnarok really helped, right?
Ragnarok helped him in a direction and on.
Yeah, it was one of those things where after Thor 2, you're like, crap, what are they gonna do with Thor? You know. Chris Hemsworth is an amazing comedic actor.
He's an amazing actor, period. Like,
he's an amazing comedic actor.
No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking about Tom Hiddleston because I was going to go somewhere with that, but
but
I think it's also the Age of Ultron didn't do anything for Thor either. So it's kind of like 2 movies in a row that like did literally nothing for Thor, like
right,
where he just like took a bath and saw the Infinity Gauntlet, like. Right. What was like? I still don't.
And yeah, that never. Again, I think that was what was his name's Josh Whedon's beef with Marvel because I think they made, according to him.
Yeah, they made him put that.
They made him put that in there because they wanted to connect. You know, it's a thing about. In my opinion, that could have been an end credit scene because again, most end credit scenes don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. They just show you something. But okay, great. So we're here, right? In Thor, Thor: Love and Thunder. What were your highs? I want to start with the highs. What were your highs?
For me, the highs were, I think, like the last 30 minutes were like really strong. I felt like, and this is like I said in the chat, that I think that this movie, what TD started with like the last 15 minutes, like that's what he wanted, right? He wanted Gore's daughter to come back. He wanted Jane to die and go to Valhalla, and he wanted Thor to be a dad. right? It's literally the title. Like that's the twist, right? At the end is that the title of the movie is Thor's New Status Quo, right? And like that's where I really really strong. I think that's where Hemsworth's performance is the strongest. I think Portman really sells the death scene. I think she sells that like end of Jane storyline really well, from like, you know, when she's in the hospital to like in the fight dying. Like I think that's just like really strong. I think that the Thor as like stepdad is like a fun status quo for him.
Yeah.
And then it's literally his daughter that's playing, as I understand it, is playing Love, I guess that's her name. And in this, like, I think that's a fun new status quo for Thor. I think the like retcon of how Jane and Thor's relationship worked between Thor 2 and I guess the beginning of Ragnarok, but I don't know exactly the MCU timeline, like how long they were together. But like that I thought was really well executed. I thought Russell Crowe's Zeus was a lot of fun. So like while I don't think everything added up to like a great experience, I think there was just a lot of stuff that like just hit me well, and a lot of it has to do with the sort of last 20 minutes of the movie plus Portman's performance. And Valkyrie, I liked her a lot in this film.
Okay, Kyle.
I like the gore stuff in the first act of the movie. I would say, like the part where he kills the god in the beginning. He's a devoted worshiper versus his dude, and you know him getting a necro sword. After that, the movie falls off the rails, and I was live chatting with you all in the theater watching this thing, and I was like, "No, I don't understand where the complaints come from." I'm like, "Oh,
should have kicked you out for that." But go ahead.
But like I was like, I don't understand the complaints. Oh, because when the Guardian scene came in, when you see Thor with the Guardians, also spoiler alert for anybody who's watching right now.
We're going full
and haven't
spoilers.
seen
Yeah,
we did the whole spoiler alert thing before you came in.
So
at
this point, you're good to go. Yeah.
All right, good. Yeah, but that whole part with the Guardians, it was the line delivery was so overacted. And I was like, did they like one take this and didn't like do any other takes with this? Because I know Lucy Liu does, like that's how she does her when she directs. She just everything's one take. Not Lucy Liu, Lucy Lawless. I know she does a lot of that. And I was like, did Taika like just one take these cuts, these scenes? Because I was like, it was weird how the line delivery was, and nobody thought, hey, we should try to deliver it a different way, something like that. Because that whole scene on that planet, it was just something off about that line delivery. And I think I wrote in like they're mailing in this performance, and then it kind of picks up a little bit with Darcy and Jane inside of when they're at the cancer unit, when she's like, oh well, you know, how many stages of cancer are there, you know, like I was like, okay, I get Taka's humor, but the thing about it is this is Jane Foster, she's very intelligent. Like I think you could have kind of wrote the comedy of this a little bit better, or just let it be a serious moment. But then the movie just goes downhill for me from that point on. Like even the parts where I really wanted to like it, because like what's his name? Gore, the actual actor.
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale, like he was nailing
Batman's name.
Dude, I blanked. I'm sorry. Like
he's not Batman anymore, Mo. He's 2 Batmans ago. Come on.
Well, I mean, I used to box, so I mean, I have certain concussions. CTE is real, sir. Except for when Vincent Mann is talking about it. but Christian Bale, I thought, was delivering a great performance. I just felt like he deserved a better script and better things to work with. Except on that one scene when they're on that weird ship thing with all the kids and he's playing with the skull. It's like, oh, it was cool a few minutes ago. That's the only part I was like, oh, you guys really took away from him. And then I didn't like the fact that Gore kept losing in fights against Thor. I was like, I hate this part about this. Like, I feel like they could have saved it to the end where Thor actually beats him, you know, or Thor realizes I can't beat him. I have to figure out another way to defeat him. But like
he's talking about Thor did beat him. Like
no, that's
Thor, but a Thor did.
No, what I'm saying is, if you notice the fight in New Asgard, Thor beat him in that fight. You know what I'm saying? He was defeated then. He was defeated like several times.
He was like
twice.
Yeah, he was beaten. I would say he's like, yeah, he was defeated in that fight. He's not. He was. I guess he was. He was the. Was he? But he wasn't defeated in their like black and white fight, though, right?
No, on that planet fight. No, I don't think
He
so.
wasn't really defeated, but he didn't lose definitively. It
Yeah,
was more like they got out of there, but he kept Stormbreaker.
right. Because he killed. Because he stabbed Valkyrie. Right. They had to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all he wanted was Stormbreaker. I didn't. So I think he won that fight.
Yeah, that's to say, like it was just some beats that was off, but Christian Bale like did a phenomenal performance, and that's where I thought about Tom Hiddleston when you was talking earlier, Mo. I was like looking at the direction of this film. I wouldn't doubt that Tom Hiddleston it was somewhere on a chopping block, like of what to take out, and looking at how Tom Hiddleston's performance in Loki, the actual series, and how everything was on this, it would have been like everybody else is milling in the performance, not being like not to take away from any actors, but looking at what Christian Bale did compared to everybody else, and then you have Tom Hiddleston who brings it every time. I don't know how many people would have actually elevated the acting in this movie, and it would have really stood out, and this movie would have really went off the rails in a bad way.
Interesting. Well, my highs are anything gore related. I think he kills every scene. I even that scene that you don't like, one with the kids. I thought that was perfect. That is how you terrorize children. Like I'm not that I
Yeah, but it
condone
was just
terrorizing
off.
children.
It was just
I don't
weird.
no.
And off.
I think it fits because you don't. I mean, you could go very evil, kind of trying to scare kids, or you could go like funny evil, right? Where it's like, oh look, cute little animal, crack. That's evil as fuck because now
Yeah,
those
but it
kids
was
need
off.
those kids are gonna need therapy for like at least a good 10 years of their life.
I feel like they got some closure at the end, though, so maybe they won't need as much.
Because it became all Thors, because they all became
Yes.
Thors. No, they're
Yeah.
like imagine any of those children are sleeping and they're gonna have nightmares about
That's fair.
that cute little shadow animal getting his head like literally ripped off and thrown at them.
I
But I
think
get
any
it.
kid growing up in the MCU is going to need therapy
no,
from
any-
wormholes
I-
opening and
MCU
aliens
child-
coming through the sky and destroying New
50%
York.
of the world's population disappearing.
Listen,
Yeah,
if
exactly my
If
point.
the next 10 MCU movies are about therapy, I will watch all of those movies. I will, because I think everyone in the MCU at this point needs therapy, even Thor.
I think that's what the Disney Plus shows are about on the low. It's just like the trauma of it all.
I mean,
Even
you're
Miss
not-
Marvel's
you're not
about
100%.
ADHD. I mean, it's just pointing it out.
You're not wrong.
You're not wrong.
But no, everything gore I liked. I liked Jane, especially at the from the hospital. Jane, the end of the when they get back to New Asgard when she loses Mjolnir. I think I liked that end of the hospital Jane all the way through to her death. I loved it. And I was like, okay, this is what I would have loved to see throughout the movie. I don't know what it is. I don't know if Natalie Portman and Chris Hemsworth really, really work together well, because while they may have worked in the first Thor movie, they didn't really do it for me. Like when you get to Ragnarok, when she's not there, I think one of the strongest movies because she's not in it. But
I mean, definitely Jane from Dark World. I think they do a good job, like saving the character from the second Thor movie.
Right, they did. I think what movie would that be? I think how Spider-Man No Way Home saves Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. Like, I think that's this movie to Jane's character.
I feel like Natalie Portman just mails in her performances, though.
No, I think she was good. I thought she was good. Now, if I want to talk about my lows, right? There was one scene that Roy said he loved. Russell Crowe's I hated that scene. I don't know what it was. Was it the accent? Again, don't get me wrong. I know Zeus isn't like, we've been taught that Zeus is this like amazing, great god, like, but there's like a lot of historical like paintings and pictures, and Zeus is just a party animal
and horrific. He's like horrible. If you read the myths, well, Zeus is like Zeus in
Zeus,
in
yeah,
the
Zeus
No,
is
no,
like
no. They
Zeus.
nailed Zeus. They nailed
No,
except
they
for the
nailed it.
Italian accent. I was like, why is he
I
talking
think it was. I
Italian?
really
Like
think
New
it was
York
the accent.
gangster
It
Italian. It
killed
was
me.
weird.
Well, the accent was amazing. Just like
It
I
killed
just
me. And I
really
was like,
it
what is
killed me in a
this?
good way though. Like I was just like Russell Crowe is just enjoying the hell out
No,
of.
oh, I know. He's not. He's
It
not
looked like he
doing like.
watched Godfather 1 and 2.
No,
It's
no,
like, you
but
know
you know
what?
what?
I'm gonna
I
do
will
this.
say that though. I will say that though. He looked like he was enjoying it because man, the last time he was in a superhero movie, Jesus Christ,
Oh yeah.
he had to play. He had to play God, literally,
Jor-El, right?
the father of Jesus. Like seriously. So yeah, I think when he just like just have fun with it, and he does. But I didn't. Everything he did. Take the accent away, and I think I'd have loved the movie. Like, don't give me Gladiator. I get it. Don't be Gladiator. Don't be Maximus Decimus Meridius. But just don't do the accent. It crushed me.
I mean,
I
that
didn't.
jokey Maximus is like that's part of the appeal of Russell Crowe as like for me. I don't know.
It just
And they were
sounded
like-
like he
they
was
were
trying
like,
to be an
Russell-
Italian gangster, and it just
I know Russell was
me
like, "Oh,
out
you
of
cast
it.
me as Zeus." Like, I'm pretty sure Russell gets the casting notice, right? It's like, "Oh, I'm cast as Zeus," and he's thinking like, "Damn, I gotta get a personal trainer," and they're like, "Oh, no, just come as you are." Matter of fact, go eat like a tub of ice cream a night before you go to sleep, and then come. Like, I like the design, I like the character design. I just didn't like the scene as a whole, but. We got Chris Hemsworth back in the
We
movie
did.
for like a substantial second.
yeah, they didn't bleep it out.
They didn't.
I
They
was
did in the
shocked they
trailer.
did.
But,
They did it in the trailer because they're like
Yeah,
kids
but
are
I
gonna
was
be
shocked
watching the
this
trailer,
scene
but then it's
allowed
like
that.
I mean,
it's like kids are gonna be watching the trailer, but they're not. They're gonna be like what? Like we need women to pay more for this movie.
women and men.
Right,
But did you? I liked his tattoos though, like the Loki rest in peace tattoo.
Yeah.
That he had.
Yo,
Those are nice.
yes,
Loki.
yes.
Yeah, it's like-
And
there's a lot of fun touches in this. movie.
there's a lot of fun in the movie, but for the most part, I thought the movie was boring. I forgot to give you one other high. Another high for me in this movie is Matt Damon and the other Hemsworth. I just think I love carrying those characters over. I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, if I would watch a Disney Plus show with those guys,
Yes,
I
trying
would-
to act out stuff.
I would 100% watch a Disney because the scene that really actually gave me the chuckles was when the kids disappear and they're talking to Valkyrie, and it's like, so do you need us to start like writing? Like, I'm like, wait, hold
Yo,
on.
did you
And
get Vault vibes when they did that? Because I sure did.
I thought that was the best scene in the movie where
That made me think of the boys when they did that. Like the
that
guys
was the
who
best
try to
comedy
spin
for the
everything.
movie for me. But for I would say this, for my lows, a lot of the movie was boring to me.
Yeah.
A lot of the movie was boring. Like when Gore wasn't in it, it was boring. And I also don't think we got enough gore. But I mean, some people don't really care about that, but I'm like, I would have loved to see him kill gods. We only saw him kill one god, and then it was like a bunch of like SOSs, and it's like all these gods are dying, and that was it. I would have loved to see more. Like, maybe it's me or the fact that you have Gore the God Butcher, and he only really kills one god in a movie. It could be runtime. So like KB was saying, there's like probably a lot of scenes that are cut up and on the chopping board. I mean,
he apparently killed Lena Headey's cameo that was cut was a god that he killed. Plus, he killed the character that Tyrion played in a version of the movie from
Infinity
the dwarf from from
the giant,
from
Oh, he killed him.
Infinity War. That was in they were in a scene where they get killed, but they have Lena Headey and was playing a goddess, and but they cut that.
See, so that's a problem I have. It's like your villain is called like the God Butcher.
Right.
That's a sick name, first of all. If I had a dog called the God, first of all, no, I wouldn't. But if I had a villain called the God Butcher, I would like to see him butcher some gods.
Especially when you have Christian freaking Bale.
You don't
playing.
have to kill. You don't have to kill prominent gods. Like, if because I'm
But you
I'm
introduced
thinking,
some already on your
yeah,
Disney Plus
I'm
show.
thinking
On Moon Knight, you've already introduced some gods. He
we
could have
talked
killed some of
about
those.
that.
Yeah, I would have. I
Yeah.
thought that they were going to kill some.
I would have thought, but they didn't kill any. Well, they did kill gods, but no gods that we would care about. So I didn't care about the villains anything. I just liked seeing Christian Bale as the God Butcher, but I didn't care about the villains' motivations and nothing. Like, okay, you were just a zealot who believed too hard, and now your gods have failed you. Does that give you a reason to kill? Like, okay, does that give you a reason to go out and massacre gods? Like, okay, whatever. Like, whoop de whoop, big cry. Like, okay, you could have just fed your daughter instead of believing in the gods. But potato, like whatever.
Actually, that's a story from the Bible too, but I don't want to.
Yeah,
no, there is. Like, there's a story about
I know, but what I'm
child.
saying is, I didn't care about the motivations because I don't know if that was a good story to tell. I don't know if that. Not saying like this, like that. It could be a good, but I don't know if that was like a good story to tell in a short movie. Where this is the villain, this is why he's doing what he's doing. But I'm like, okay, this isn't like it's not a great hook. I like Christian Bale, I liked his acting, but I don't think that's a great hook for me to like buy into or believe your villain. And then the God Butcher didn't kill, even if you didn't show him killing gods, at least show the person who the Necro Sword belonged to at first die. Not an off-screen death. Is like, oh, we're celebrating because we just killed whoever had the Necro Sword, and now we're celebrating. That's why we couldn't save you.
Also,
but that's not why I couldn't say. He specifically didn't just chose.
Oh, he didn't care. Yeah,
right. Like that's a part of, that's in the back. That's background noise in the movie, right? Is that like gods don't care about humans except for like Thor had to learn to care about humans. Right. And it was Jane that taught him to care about humans, right?
Okay, so quick question: am I bugging about the fact that, or is this a thing? Like, your villain is the God Butcher, and you don't see any gods die. Am I bugging about that?
No, I had a huge problem with that.
All right, so let's get into your lows, because I feel like I've been talking for a long time. KB, Roy, lows.
So for me, I think this movie's like, I think it's very similar to what I said about Madness or Mom, is that this movie needed like 20 more minutes.
Correct.
Like, I think that like the last two, it's just weird. People were arguing, Marvel movies are becoming too long, too bloated. Maybe either the directors want them shorter and tighter now, or maybe Marvel Central wants it shorter or tighter. But like both this movie and Madness felt like they were just missing like 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. Like, it feels like Jane shows up in New Asgard, and then she's Thor, and apparently she was running around New Asgard, and everybody knew she was Thor for a while, but we never saw that. Like a sequence of him killing a god. I'm glad he didn't kill Sif. I'm glad Sif. Yeah, I'm glad she's alive. I was very happy to see that, because I like that character a lot, and the actress. But like, yeah, him gore butchering some gods, right? Like a little bit more time in like the sequence where they're in the God Palace, right? Like, there could have just been like a little bit more to flesh out each sequence, but it felt like they just gave us like the most bare bones of every one of these sequences, which I think it really, really hurts. I think the first 20 minutes, a half an hour, particularly like more Thor and the Guardians, more time with like Jane. Like, we don't actually see her first transformation into Thor.
No, we don't.
Right, which is like,
we actually really don't see any transformation of Jane to Thor.
Yeah, you do when she's in the bathroom. That's the right. Doesn't she transform when she's in the bathroom?
I thought she was already Thor.
And no, she drops the hammer.
She drops the hammer, becomes Jane, and then
she's dying.
Picks it up, and it's like, I'm Thor again. I don't think we saw like, okay, my thing of transformation is like Thor, the first Thor movie, right? When he finally picks the hammer back up, or when Mjolnir decides to, like, when he becomes worthy again, and you see like his like chainmail start to like fly in and just like. I would love to see that with Jane. I mean, she's becoming Thor. Why not? Like, right? But I mean, the sequences with her and the hammer, I think, are better than anything I've seen them do with Chris Hemsworth.
I feel like the best to me Thor fight scene is Infinity War, when he comes and
Bringing
saves
Thanos?
everybody. When he's
the entrance into Wakanda.
Wakanda, and then he's just like
Yeah.
owning people left and right. Like, to me, that was like, that's Thor. Like,
Yeah,
he shows up at
that-
the end of Avengers story and just starts smashing
Wrecking
people,
everybody.
wrecking everybody.
I mean, I think when she like when I say like her use of the hammer to me is better than anything Chris Hemsworth or what they've seen, like is okay. So the hammer is still in fragments, which I love that they didn't like magically repair the hammer, right?
Until they
did. But then she like does this thing where she throws it and then it like
breaks apart.
splinters.
Now
and
that's
it's like
cool.
buckshots. That's
cool, yeah.
super cool.
It
like
was cool.
Yeah.
And then
that
she
was
grabs
cool.
like the you know the hilt, and then everything just like
It
comes
comes
right
back.
back. I'm like, come on, that's super sick.
Yeah.
That was
So,
very
like,
cool.
You turn the
Yes.
hammer into a gun. Like that's cool.
It was very cool. One more thing I didn't really like about this movie was, why is it now escaping me? I was like, oh yeah, Mo reminded me, but I can't remember what it was. Oh my god. It will come back to you, I'm sure. As soon as someone else is talking, I'm like, that's what it was.
All right, just
But
cut
maybe
me
you
off.
got one.
Yeah,
All right,
cut
go.
me off as soon as it comes to you. I got four things. First thing, they buried the villain, Gore the God Butcher. I'm using a wrestling term, but by burying, I mean you're setting up this person that's supposed to be scary, a legit threat to the gods with the Necro Sword, which they never explained the purpose of the Necro Sword or why it's scary and all that good stuff. They just talked about it having the power to kill gods, but you set this up where it's like, oh my god, there's a God Butcher. Then you have all the gods hanging out at Zeus's palace, getting ready for an orgy, and they're like, yeah, no, it's cool, he's out there. We're not worried about him. That's your own problem. You know, like you like completely buried something that you in your own movie that you're setting up as a legit threat. Like that part, like that's just like I love Russell Crowe. Aside from the Italian gangster accent, the scene was, a lot of there was cool, but that part also burns me up because like you're burying the thing that you're setting up in the movie that you have me paying money to watch, which is problematic. The Guardian, I mentioned this earlier, the Guardians of the Galaxy, that whole scene with the lines were very forced. Like that whole interaction with Star Lord and Thor and everything, like those lines are just super forced. But what's weird is you could really tell where you need Zoe Saldana, I think that's her name. You could tell where you need her because that chemistry was off in that scene anyway. And that cast member not being there, you could tell. Like it was just something about that bouncing of character, like the lines and everything, where it's like there's something or someone missing to help those lines. And like Mo mentioned earlier, even with Tom Hiddleston not being in this, it was like there was something missing with that good cop, bad cop bounce off that Thor has with Loki. And this is the first movie I've seen since Stan Lee died where I feel like a cameo would have really helped this movie. So that's it.
That's it.
Well, this is the first one before they got permission from his estate to start digitally inserting him. So get ready for that.
That's going to be weird too.
It's
did it ever come back to you, Roy?
No, it didn't come back to me. It might come back to me later. I was thinking,
what was I talking about? Now I'm like super curious. What was I talking about?
I'm actually curious too. I was like, oh yeah, they'll agree with me about this. And then
was it boring? No,
it wasn't that it was boring.
I'm so upset.
do we want to talk a little bit about the post credits stuff?
Yeah,
because I thought both post credits sequences were really good. Like the comics accurate Hercules. Come on.
Oh yeah, I thought that.
I was waiting on him the whole movie, to be honest. You can't have Zeus without Hercules.
No, you would have missed him. I think he's in the movies. In that scene. Yeah, with the party scene.
He's in it.
The palace scene. He's in there, but you would miss him. It's very it was a very quick shot.
I didn't see him.
You would have missed him.
Okay.
I think I missed him too, and then I read somewhere that he was in it. And I was like, oh crap.
Yeah, because I was waiting on him the whole.
But he's from the show you love.
It's the Ted Lasso, yeah.
Yeah.
He's a good Roy. He's like one of the few good Roys on television.
Roy.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so yeah, I was like, okay, that's okay. So now, as opposed to the one from Multiverse of Madness, I think this is the one I'm very like, okay, I like this one the best. Multiverse of Madness had Charlize playing what was it? Leah?
Yeah, that was the only post credit sequence, right? Was
No, it
there
was
not?
two
Was
of
there
them. It
No,
more?
there
was
was
and
the
then
other
Bruce
dude
Campbell
stop
doing it.
punching
Bruce
himself.
Campbell
Oh,
stopped
right.
playing.
There's
Yeah.
a joke one. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Because both of
I
these
think
have implications for the future.
yes, they do. Well, what do you think with Hercules? Do you think Thor 5? Because
Yeah, do you think we'll wait until Thor 5? Like, or
I
will
don't think
then
we're gonna wait to Thor 5.
but where do you put him though?
What do we have? We have the Marvels coming out. You have She-Hulk, which they actually dated in the comics for a period of time.
I mean, it'd be cool if I could see Hercules just showing up somewhere. Like it could be in She-Hulk. Like the actor they cast is not like expensive. Like he's
Correct.
he's like a rising actor, right? So they can throw him in films with and TV shows as like cameos without having to like break the bank, right?
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe She-Hulk would be a great place to put him.
Blade.
Or if they do like he could be in Loki, like and it doesn't have like it could not even just be like this Hercules. It could just have Hercules in Loki, as a variant or whatever, right? Like, but the question is like, where do they fight? Do you think we're gonna wait 7 years for Thor 5?
I mean, if you
before
have
they fight, or
if you have him like sprinkled throughout the MCU, then I think a 7-year wait isn't the craziest thing in the world. Because then we get to know him. We get to meet him, right? We know this character. And so if we have to wait 7 years to see him fight Thor again, because at this point, Hemsworth is expensive at this point. Because I don't think he's gonna come back to do another Thor movie under if this movie makes the money that it's supposed to make. I don't see him doing another Thor movie for under 20. I mean, but Marvel, the Disney got the money, right?
Disney has the money to pay Chris Hemsworth. Yeah, they could definitely pay him.
I mean, they could also negotiate like a nice contract where they keep him for like another like 3 movie thing.
I think if they keep agreeing to film his movies in Australia, where he could be with his family,
right,
and not have to like relocate them to the West Coast, he'll do them. That's why they filmed this one,
right?
Because both he and Watiti are based in Australia and New Zealand, right? Which is not that bad from New Zealand and Australia, right? So, like, if it's like, yeah, you film this movie in my backyard, yeah, like why would I say no to $20 million and not have to relocate my family? Like, why would you? Versus like making him move to London for a year, right?
Right.
Like for Thor,
and then Atlanta at some point.
Atlanta, right? Like,
Secret Wars.
You could. You think that they will be the next Avengers movie? They would fight.
It would make sense. Like you have to do Battle World, and like I was thinking while you talk about them filming in New Zealand or in Australia, it would make sense. You could film those movies there.
Does he become a hero?
Hercules eventually. I think.
I'm saying like they become like they kind of become best friends or friends.
They become kind of frenemies. Is kind of like that, like friendly rivals, I guess.
Yes, like a friendly rivalry thing. So
unless you do Original Sin, which that's another reason I'm pissed off at this movie, you have the freaking Necrosaur. Cut Thor's arm off, and let's do that part of let's get to the Unworthy storyline. Like,
I mean, but they started.
I don't think they're going to go full
journey with Unworthy storyline. Like Thor in the MCU started on Worthy, and then he became worthy, and then I think was it Endgame he thought he wasn't, and then he felt he was worthy again. I don't think you can do another like that would be overdoing Unworthy at this point, right?
And I think look, they figured out like what Hemsworth wants to do,
right?
And what T wants to do is like Thor as the fun fuckboy like frat bro, like but with a heart of gold. Like that's the character. There's like and that's not the comics character. Like there's like
that's
like
why
they've been moving the comics character a little towards that, but they never will 100%. Actually, because the comics character has all this baggage that this Thor doesn't have. And I think they're not going to get rid of this because like Hemsworth wants to play the character like that, right? Because that's the thing they've kept since Ragnarok through the 2 Avengers movies and to this one, right? Like he just wants to be this like fuckboy jock that's like got a heart of gold, right? That's that's Thor now. Like,
You
and
wanna know
that's I
what's
know
funny
a lot
about
of people
that?
don't like that,
If
but
you watch, which is I feel like they've been setting this up from like Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and then they set it up from with the subsequent Avengers cartoons moving forward. Like this is where you're going. Like, you're getting this Thor. Like it's what other because again, like you said, outside of maybe the comic books, the Avengers game Thor is also playful. Like you're not getting serious. Like we've moved away from serious Thor at this point. Like we got him in Thor 1 and the second, even in Thor 1 he was a little goofy, but like we're not getting that anymore. Like get over it at this point.
Thor 1, I thought was very comic book accurate to me.
That's
That
about
was
was.
the
probably the
most,
most comic book
yeah,
accurate
and
Thor
that's
I've
it.
seen on screen.
Yeah,
I,
I
I
agree.
honestly think that's why it didn't work. I mean, Thor 1 was good, but it didn't work. That comic book accuracy didn't work when you got to, Dark World
Avengers
fails.
1.
Dark,
But
Dark,
when you get to
Dark World
Avengers
fails
1, you
for
see it
a lot
doesn't
of,
bounce.
yeah.
Well, I just think Whedon never had anything interesting he wanted to say about Thor, right? Like,
No.
I feel like Thor was only in that movie because he wanted Loki, and obviously, like Marvel had to have Thor in it, but
Yeah.
because he didn't like, because Marvel had to force him to come up with the storyline for, like we
For-
mentioned this earlier, for in Agents of Ultron. Like Thor
Right.
doesn't have any interesting. He has even fewer interesting emotional beats in like Age of Ultron, right? They make him
Yes.
disappear, like both for like plot reasons, like big MCU reasons, and because Whedon doesn't know what to do with him. Like I
Right.
think like Thor was really a wasted character until Ragnarok, and then
Correct.
and I think the most serious Thor we will get is Thor in Infinity War, who was still very flippant, right? But it was pretty
Yes.
serious arc, right? Like, but it was still very like light, and he was cracking jokes always, and that kind of stuff. So like I think that's the most serious Thor we'll get, and this is definitely not as serious as Infinity War, like
No, it's
or
not.
even Endgame Thor. Like it's close to Endgame Thor, but definitely like not as serious as Thor 1,
I have a
particularly Thor 2.
question. I have a
which is
question.
Really, just
right?
such a dry movie.
Oh crap! It just left. So the God Butcher, right? So apparently, the only gods he was able to have access to kill were the ones that were in at Zeus's palace. Did he kill gods that were actually caring about their humans? Or
Yes.
See, I would have loved to see that. Because again, you're not just so I just actually thought about that. And again, I saw the movie and I didn't realize it. I just actually thought about like the only gods he had access to kill were the gods that were, caring about their worshippers, or maybe in close proximity to their worshippers, because he'd have to be able to get to them to kill them. That's kind of shitty that happened off screen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised like we didn't see the fight scene that maybe there is a version of the film that had the fight scene with like Sith
You
like
have to buy
fighting
that
him,
4K.
like like there could have definitely
Steelbook.
been more of that.
Right.
But yeah, like the big giant Thor guy that died, Thor was like, oh yeah, he's the nicest god, like, and like
Yeah.
he's
Right.
really like a good dude, and the gods in the planet that the Guardians are in, right, actively were protecting the planet, right?
The planet,
And
yeah.
so yeah,
Mm.
Gore was the low hanging fruit, right? Like
He was busy. He was really busy for someone we saw for like with like 3-4 scenes. He was really busy. He was active. I really his introduction. I love that. I thought that was that Job?
it was, but like it
You
was
said
kind
the
of Job
Bible.
like.
Yeah, it was kind of
No,
Job.
that's
But Job, right? Like
like
No, not Job.
Genesis. It's like is in the Old Testament. Oh my God.
It's not Job. It's
It's like it's Esther.
I'm talking about Isaac.
Isaac,
Os-
right? No, not
Oh,
Isaac.
Abraham and Isaac, where he
No.
God
It's
stops
two
him.
stories. So it's two similar stories. One is about a person that's supposed to come. Like it's a lady and her son, and she just made bread, and like the person comes, he's supposed to be like giving the message of the Lord. And she's like, but if I feed you, my kids will die. And he's like, well, if you feed me, you'll never go hungry again, right? That's the one story. There's another one where it's like they prepare the meal, the last meal, and like they do die, or something like that. And it's like it's in the Old Testament. I don't remember
I would
where.
have
It
thought
might
it
be
was like
Kings.
it was like the Abraham Isaac thing with like the other son who was in the desert with his mother and was dying, and the mom prayed, and God was like, "You're like a side, you're you're the side character. I got nothing for you." So and then like another God was like, "Oh, I got you guys," and that's how like
You know what?
Islam
That
came.
is something that happened. Yeah, because
That's
she was
that's
like
how the
mark
Muslims,
my child or something like that. Protect
yeah.
my child because
And oh
yeah.
yeah, so it's very Bible. So Taika did his
I
homework.
mean, he definitely like. Well, I think one of the reasons why gods don't really get butchered in this is to try to like sidestep some of that.
Interesting.
Like um, I am like really surprised that Disney has been willing to like do this whole like God thing with the capital G, and there's a lot of them, right? Like,
Right.
I mean, we had the whole Moon Knight thing, and there's just a ton of them running around in Thor, and they're like sticking around, right? And
Mhm.
so, and Hercules is going to be running around, so it's interesting, and but also like it kind of like reaffirm like one of the more interesting things is like Gore's arc is very like reaffirming faith at the end, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
faith
Yes.
in Thor, right?
Yes.
Rather than like an eternity, which was cool. Comics,
Hmm.
a comic
Accurate.
Very
Yeah.
comic
accurate
accurate.
eternity. And do you like the cool thing where her like love's reflection is eternity when she first gets that was like a really nice touch. I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Yeah. Let me
Eternity
just
yeah.
have a
looks
look.
great on screen. I always wonder how
Ooh.
that would look, how Eternity would look, but wow,
Heimdall's
they
kid
really did it.
was brilliant.
Axel.
Axel.
Yeah.
Axel was brilliant. I thought that was a really great touch. That was like, oh, okay. Oh, Heimdall's kid is, th- we don't get Heimdall anymore in the MCU, but we're gonna get a continuation of the character with
Well,
his son, and I thought that was pretty great.
we could get more Hemdall, right? That's the second
With
one,
the
right?
second, yes,
Because we know
yes,
Valhalla is real,
right.
and do you think they'll bring Jane and they could bring Hemdall back now? I mean,
Actually, here's my thoughts on the second. I'm just like, okay, this is like closing the book on those characters. That's what I
really,
thought about it. It's like,
I'll be happy
okay,
if that's the
hey,
case.
this is them. Bye. Like that's what I thought.
I'll be glad if that's the case if they just close the book because they they're respecting Loki's death on screen on the big screen. It seems like so far they're like Loki was not in this movie,
no.
so I mean we
Are you
know he has
sure?
a Disney Plus he has a Disney Plus
No,
series
I'm saying, are you sure? Because Loki
so
was in this
far.
movie, not the
Where
Loki we know, but there was a Loki in this movie.
you talking about the tattoo?
No, I'm talking about Matt Damon.
Well, Matt Damon is Loki.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, all right, you
Well,
got me there.
well,
Come
but
on.
Matt Damon, but they didn't bring Tom Hemsworth. He should have also theoretically been in Valhalla, right? Because he died
Yeah,
during the fight
Mm.
against Thanos, right? Trying to protect,
No, but then so that
right?
that
I mean, by their
he's
rules,
so
right.
that
That
yeah, by
Loki
the
did
rules,
die
that
in
that one
battle.
is dead.
that
Right?
one
It's
is
the
In
dead,
one
battle.
it's the Battle of New York one that's not dead.
right? The alternate one,
Yeah.
who's basically our Loki. He got sped in one episode up to basically being our Loki.
Right. So
So he should have been in Valhalla. I'm gonna take this as them closing this door. Like
and
you're
I
not
see
bringing these
that
characters
could
back
be
to the
interesting.
big screen.
But so to make that for me to make that point even more solid is because the fact that they didn't show Hiddleston in Valhalla just meant that that's that for that. I think.
Yeah.
Did it come back?
Wait,
Did it ever come back? Your
what
second
you
row?
mean? That's that. What do you mean by that's that
No, I
for
was talking
that?
to Roy. Did
What?
did your second low ever come back?
No,
No.
it didn't.
No.
But
Okay.
I liked it. Like, but I think they will wait. And if this movie, I mean, well, it looks like this movie is going to be successful, but not like unbelievably successful. I wouldn't be surprised if. I mean, they brought Jane back, right, in the comics, right?
Right.
She's Valkyrie in the comics, right? So
And I think
I would not be surprised if Jane is back
there's a Scarlet Witch movie coming out at some point.
or
So
show. That's the other rumors.
yeah, so again, what I wouldn't mind watching a Disney Plus show of Valhalla.
That would be perfect.
But the people who are in Valhalla, though, those are expensive actors. Like
I mean,
Idris Elba and Natalie Portman. Like, as much as that would be like, I would Like,
But I don't want to see Natalie Portman act ever again in life. But
What?
I'm sorry, I don't like her as
great.
an actor. I never liked her in Star Wars. I didn't like her.
She was
in
terrible in
What?
Star Wars.
She was like
Terrible.
16 in Star
Well,
Wars.
she was not
I
in
don't
Revenge of the Sith.
care.
She was not in Revenge. She was a grown woman who had been nominated for an Academy Award. All right, by the time as an adult. Yeah, we're talking. I'm not talking about episode 1, even episode 2. Fine, whatever. But she's a grown ass woman when episode 3 came out, so she has no excuse.
Harsh. This is
I
the
don't
harshest.
care.
No
I
way to
don't
be.
care. And I'm glad Roy's backing me up on this because normally I'm the jerk by myself. So thank you, Roy.
I like Natalie Portman. I think she's a good actress. I enjoyed her in this movie, but I will never defend. Mo's argument that she was a child in the earlier ones is fine. But again, she's 2 years older than me. I was episode 3. I was in college. She was out of college. Right? She's 2 years older than me. She's a grown ass woman who won multiple awards for her performances. She was better in Garden State, which is a truly garbage movie.
Thank you.
And she's better in that movie with Susan Sarandon when she was like 18. That she's like a single mom. She is capable of performing. She's great in that psychological horror film,
Black Swan.
Black Swan. She's fantastic in that movie.
Did she
right?
win?
I generally don't like
movies
movies like that. I think she did, or she was nominated.
I think she won. But to me, Natalie Portman is the Nicolas Cage, the female version of Nicolas Cage.
She's 4 years older than me, by the way. She's 4 years older than me. She was
the female version of Nicolas Cage.
I was 20. She was 24 when episode 3 came out. Sorry. I had to look.
Touche on that one. Lucy Law.
Natalie Portman. I would defend. Listen, I would defend Natalie Portman just because of biceps. That's it.
I mean, she put the work.
Dude, she committed. I'll give you that. She committed. She worked out. She looked great. But she sucks as an actor. I'm sorry. I don't like her acting.
Maybe it's the MCU stuff.
No, but it's anything sci-fi is actually everything I've seen her in.
Well, no, it can't be everything sci-fi because she also tried really hard in that Arrivals that they referenced that movie in. Did you catch that? It's one of the ones when she's recommending to the guy.
I kind of giggled when she said that.
Yeah, the movie she's in. I thought that was a very funny joke. But she tries Natalie Portman. I think she is an actress who's very bifurcated in her performances. Right. She's either really good or terrible, right?
There's a middle ground.
There's not as much middle ground. I think this is the most middle ground movie that she's done.
You just did.
Okay, so what do you think about Thor 1?
I don't even think that you meant to do that. The one where it says Jared Leto was an actor is the one raving review for Jared Leto and Morbius, and you did it. Now you think you
realized. I didn't mean to realize.
There's no. I don't think there's. I don't think there's a good Jared Leto movie. I don't think there's a good Jared Leto movie.
But he has an Academy Award.
Dallas.
What did he win in his Academy Award?
Dallas Buyers Club, where he was
really
trans.
Yeah,
I don't know. I can't tell you.
I
didn't watch.
I don't think there's a good Jared Leto movie.
I'm with Mo on this one. I don't think there's a good Jared Leto movie.
I can't name one, but Jared Leto is an actor, as Mo said. As Roy said.
He's an actor. He is definitely
just like
an actor.
Natalie Portman. Natalie Portman is an actor.
Yeah. Oh, he was in Welcome for a Dream. Okay, that is a good movie that he was in.
Who? Jared,
yeah.
What movie is that?
It's the one from 2000 about 4 different people who are addicted to drugs.
It's a good movie with Jared Leto in it.
Yeah, I don't know if he's good in it, but I'm just saying that's a good movie. That's
what I'm trying to say. I don't think there's a movie where it says starring if he gets top billing, I don't think there's a good Jared. Don't say it. I don't.
No, I was about to say that was another problem I had with this movie. Natalie Portman's billing in this movie was not Natalie. It was somebody else who had very high billing, and I was like, really? It was like
great agent.
Huh?
They have a great agent.
And I was like, how? I gotta go back home. And Darcy should have had more time in this movie.
I agree. More Darcy would have helped this movie.
But
I think that there's a 2.5 hour version of this movie somewhere, and I'm gonna start it today. Release the what's it cut? Seriously.
Yeah.
It can be worse, right? Well, we saw a Snyder cut.
No, Let's you know what let me take that back. I don't want to do it just in case.
Just in case. I mean,
Just
the
in case.
question is like, is it like I really this is an interesting like behind the scenes thing that I would love to know. Like, is it a Disney Central? Like these movies need to be shorter, or is it a like these directors themselves like wanted these movies to be like on the low end? We actually Sam Raimi said that he chose.
Yes,
like,
he wanted his movie to be
as short as possible.
Yes.
Then the question is that what TV wanted as well. Like my implication would be yes, right? Because I like because look at these other ones, and Kevin Feige is not telling people.
So I think seeing what happened with Doctor Strange and like okay, we can because I think you can get more people to see these movies more times. But then again, it doesn't matter because MCU movies get a lot of repeat customers regardless. But you can get more people to see a movie more times if it's 2 hours. I will sit through a 2-hour movie like 6 times before I sit through a 3-hour movie two times or 3 times.
I know so many people went to see No Way Home, which feels like it's 40 million years long. So
it's really long.
But that's what I was gonna ask you next. Like, what was the runtime for No Way Home?
Long,
2.5,
right? 2.5.
It was eternity.
Because it does feel long, and I don't know why.
No Way Home. Usually, doesn't it usually say here how long it is?
Hang on, I can pull it up. I have it on my iTunes.
2 hours 28 minutes. There we go.
Yeah.
And that's
2.5 hours.
And that's both. So I'm guessing before we get to the credits, I'm saying so. Let's take off 10 minutes for the credits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which will contain both credit scenes. So maybe 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Which is,
and then this movie is under 2 hours. If you take the credits out.
Yeah.
So.
And there's a longer version of No Way Home coming out soon.
Yeah,
I don't know what they're adding in. Right. Like that movie feels. It's already. I liked.
It's already long.
Love No Way Home. And that movie feels like a million years long.
I don't want to watch that movie ever again.
No Way Home?
I was I didn't see it. I wasn't on it because I didn't see it until it was on video.
See it until
But you said I liked it.
Really wanted to hear. You just said I liked it, not loved it.
Yeah.
Oh no, we need a redub. We need a recast.
I'll rewatch it again.
What?
I'll rewatch it again.
Yes, do that. Let's do that because what?
Yeah.
Next Saturday.
I mean, next Saturday's the last. Yeah, no, I guess Saturdays I can always do. It's not this upcoming week. It's the following week. We're out of town, but we're not on weekends. So
okay.
Yeah. But we're doing Miss Marvel.
Fine, I'll do it Saturday.
Yeah, because next Saturday.
No, Saturday.
No, what you call it?
I can do Sunday.
Yeah, we could do Saturday because I'll be back. I'll be back in town on Saturday.
Yeah, because Saturday evening I'll be good.
Yeah, so Saturday
evening's the best for me because that means I can play Magic
Tournament. Oh my god, I'm just what?
Yeah, like
but you love this movie because you said it.
I adored it. Yeah, I enjoyed the experience of watching this movie more than I enjoyed watching it.
I need to.
But I do think. But here's the thing: I will say, like as a movie, I think No Way Home is better than this movie.
Okay, but
I'm saying my experience.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not going to ask you why here because we're going to do a cast on that. So I want that answer there for that. I want it to be on that episode so the people can hear you tell us why.
I'll have to rewatch it. It will be interesting to see how I feel.
And I feel like once the rewatch is done, I don't know. I love No Way Home. I feel like because I love No Way Home, and I was just like, okay, Marvel's back because you got it. I'm not gonna lie to you. 2020 MCU is 2021 MCU was not my spell.
Well, literally nothing came out in 2020, so
I'm sorry, 2021. Yeah, the reason I say 2021 was because Black Widow
did not come out in 2020. It came out in 2021. Right?
It was supposed to come out.
Did it come out at the beginning of the year before the pandemic? Was there a Marvel movie right before the pandemic?
Yeah, there was one, wasn't there?
No, there was because there was No Way Home or Far From Home. That was the only post-Endgame.
That was November.
And then there's nothing, right?
It was nothing.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be Black Widow.
Yeah.
Like right when the pandemic started.
Yeah. So
they kept pushing it back, and that's
so 2021 MCU was not for me. Like Eternals.
I thought you liked Black Panther or not Black Panther. Excuse me.
I liked Black Widow only because I liked the character, and I thought that movie if in my mind inserted that movie in its right slot, and it became better for me because I did that. I wasn't watching it like a post Endgame movie. I was watching it as if it came out when it should have come out, right? Now, Spider-Man restored my faith because Shang-Chi was great, but everyone loves it except me.
I don't think it was great.
I thought it was
I
cool.
really enjoyed Shang-Chi. It's not great, but it's like good. It's like
I thought it was good.
People
Like,
love that movie, and I just thought it was cool.
I thought it was. I thought it was better
Spider-Man
in the
restored my
movies
faith
until I saw
in
it.
the MCU.
no.
So for Spider-Man to restore, like it really did. It if Spider-Man wasn't as good as it was, I really think I'd be harder on MCU movies moving like.
Interesting.
But I think I'm as hard I am on these movies because of Spider-Man.
Interesting.
Because it put me back here because you got, again, all of 2021, those movies kind of felt very mid to me, and then you get Spider-Man. It's like, oh my God, we're back. Not we're like the MCU's back. Let's go. And then you get Doctor Strange, and then you get this movie, and I'm like, okay, I still have my Spider-Man to like to keep me warm at night. My Spider-Man blanket keeps me warm at night. But how long can I use like if Wakanda doesn't do it for me?
Let me say something. There's a line. I think there's a line. Sorry. There's a line in Dark Knight Rises with Bane talking to talking to Batman when he said, "Victory has defeated you." And I really think we're at this place now with Marvel where victory has defeated them. Like, dude, they had a goal, they achieved it, which is Endgame. Then they turn around and had the audacity to buy, like, Disney owns Fox, so you have X-Men, you have Fantastic Four, you have a partnership deal with Sony with Spider-Man. Like, you have an abundance of greatness, and you've been playing with house money, and you have directors who want to work with you, and writers who want to work with you, right? And you're putting out duds. I don't want to say Thor 4 is not completely a dud. I don't like it, but it's not a dud. It's definitely not Man of Steel, right? It's not Batman versus Superman or Justice League Snyder Cut. It's not those. It's not that bad, right? But it's not good. It's not Thor: The Dark World by a long shot, but it's not good. It's not.
I got a question.
Well,
go for it.
I actually before you asked the question about, I want to say something though. For me though, I agree with what KB's saying there in the sense that like I do think victory did defeat Marvel in the sense that like it should have just changed everyone's like way they think about these movies.
Mm-hmm.
The way it's just bad for everyone.
Yes.
But I also think like at the end of the day, like none of these movies I feel like is worse than your median MCU movie. Because you have to remember, like we went through this like string of bangers, right? Which was like Black Panther. I know a lot of this controversial statement, but Captain Marvel, and then Endgame and Infinity War and Far From Home, right? These were all
listen, you're right.
Banger,
back to back.
Maybe Captain Marvel is one of and
they hit a groove.
And but they also made Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, the original Thor movie, Captain America: First Avenger, Age of Ultron, like Avengers: Age of Ultron. The original Doctor Strange, right? Like the original Ant-Man. These are all movies that have some people that like love them.
I like them.
I really enjoy both Ant-Man movies. I watch them as comfort movies, right? But some people don't, right? Like I think they're firmly mid, right? Or worse, right? Like I think we're just back to the mean of Marvel movies, which is mid movies that some people love and other fanboys detest, and they keep servicing these audiences. Like, yeah, we went this like string of one that basically brought everyone together except for maybe Captain Marvel and Ant-Man and the Wasp. But like that's 7 movies, and only 2 of them were like divisive or lower tier. That's like no other franchise has ever done that, particularly over a short period of time. So like I think we just have to reset our expectations, even without doing my like set your expectations in the ground, and then everybody will make you happy.
No, I actually do agree with you on that. You know, it's a thing where, like you said, but that's the thing. You've given everyone these expectations to have. Like I said, after 2021, I was like ready to be like, okay, my expectations are on the ground, and then you drop No Way Home, and I'm like, welcome back. I'm back. Let's go. And now I'm like back here with Marvel movies, right? which is dangerous, which I should have probably seen coming. I should have been like, you know what? Let's taper that. This is Spider-Man. It's different. Like that's what I should have done, right?
But they had that metal cover for Love and Thunder. It's like they sold
Doctor
you.
Strange. You had Doctor Strange in Spider-Man. So my mind is like, oh yeah, he's about to be heat in his own movie, like because he was heat in Spider-Man. I'm not gonna lie, I thought he was heat in No Way
It was
Home.
good in Spider-Man, yeah.
Thank you. And I'm like, oh, he's about to be heat. Outside of that zombie scene, I'm like, yo, that's the best strange thing he did in this movie, right? Was the zombie scene. I was like, that was amazing. Sam Raimi did his
Oh, that
thing.
wedding scene when he threw the cape on and
Oh
jumped
my
off.
god, that
Yeah,
was such
that
a
was good
banger.
too.
I'm not gonna lie to you,
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
super cool. Like,
Yeah, I'm about to say, yo, hold up. Like that
oh,
scene
like,
was cool.
and then maybe the end where like what's her name comes in and he pulls his scarf. I'm like, oh, they're gonna do it again, aren't they? Like, why does he have a scarf with no coat? Like, why? Like, this is kind of weird, right?
It's an illusion,
yeah, it's the cape. So I was like, okay, he's about to be straight gas. And okay, whatever. That's not gas. Thor, I mean, Infinity War, Endgame, Ragnarok, all bangers, right?
You can't miss.
You didn't, I don't even think you added. But wait, was Thor in your list of bangers?
No, I guess because it does go Thor into Black Panther, right?
Right.
Yeah. So
No,
yeah. So Ragnarok, or maybe Guardians 2 is in there. We've done this before.
I love Guardians 2.
I hate that movie.
I hate it. I thought it was
I
bad.
thought Guardians 2 hit a lot of emotional beats that I really liked.
I'm like,
I can see that.
You had Ragnarok, Infinity War, Endgame, all bangers for this one character, right? You can't miss at this point. It could be runtime. It could be the direction of, it could be the direction. I don't think it's the direction. I think he made some really strong choices. It could be I think it's runtime.
I think it's also like he picked. I think what TD was mostly interested in, I think, visuals.
Yes, very
and like
so.
thematic things. I don't think he spent a lot of like. You can feel that this movie felt like rewritten a lot, right?
Thank
like
you.
That they were like I don't. The strongest part of the movie again for me, those last 20 minutes. I don't think that was rewritten. I think that
was the original movie.
Yeah, and then everything else changed around them with both notes from Marvel, like what he wanted to do. He could also just be super stretched thin. That could be another thing, right? Like when Ragnarok came out, with he was like, whoosh, right, like going
right
up.
there.
Right now, he's doing the pirate show. He's working for Star Wars, both Mandalorian and making his own Star Wars movie. He's doing the Shadows show. He had made Jojo Rabbit. Like he could just be stretched too thin, and this movie did not get like the same intellectual like love that and work that Ragnarok got, right? Where he was like, this is my chance to sort of like bring my style of filmmaking to Hollywood, and it like made his career, right? Like, not saying it's his best movie he's ever done, but it's a movie that just proved that he could make both a blockbuster and make these indie films. And that's like, for directors, that's like, that's what
it,
you want, right? Like, it's like you can take Disney's money and make a Disney movie, plus you can make these weird movies. You can do
a movie that you really want to make, right?
Yeah.
Which is why Ron Howard said, I will do that solo movie. I don't care, because then I get to be able to do a string of my actual movies. Oh, crap. Yeah. But no, that could be it. That could be another reason. But I was kind of I wish he actually stuck his foot in this one. But ultimately, the question I want to ask. So now, this is 4 Thor movies. If we never get a Thor movie, where does this movie rank in Thorness?
Number 2, as far as in the Thor it's not a trilogy anymore. Quadrilogy.
I guess.
I think it's quartet. Actually.
Yeah.
Is that
or the 4-peat of Thor, the
dynasty
quartet, right? The quartet, the dynasty.
Where does this movie rank?
Number 2. I will put it underneath Ragnarok, above the original Thor. Like, so I guess I'll go Thor Ragnarok, this one, Thor 1, and then of course the Dark World is at the bottom. But on the grand scheme of things, counting Infinity War, Avengers, oh god, this gets weird. Thor Ragnarok would still be number one. Infinity War and Endgame would take 2 and 3 respectively. This I'll put at 4 on the outside looking in, and then Thor one, uh, Avengers, just because of Thor. Like has nothing to do with the movie
Right,
Avengers.
as a
Just
Thor movie,
Thor's
it's definitely
story.
one of the weakest.
Yeah, Avengers would go like in that 5 spot. Age of Ultron would go in that 6 spot, and then Dark World would be all the way at the bottom.
Damn.
Yeah.
I agree with KB's list there, except for this. I actually think Age of Ultron as Thor movies, not talking about quality of the movie in general.
Right.
I think Age of Ultron is the worst. Film, like for Thor.
No,
for Thor,
let's high five on that. Let's high five on that.
I agree with you because you said it. He has nothing to do in the movie. He does nothing the entire movie. That's a 2.5 hour.
No, it's closer to 3 hours. It's a week.
Yeah, it's a long movie, and his biggest scene in that movie was the bath scene.
Well, given Vision life, and he goes, "I agree with Stark because I signed a Vision."
it's like you saw a vision of a bunch of stones. What? This is no. It's like no.
Right.
The best Thor scenes are the hammer one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think where he's in the banquet, where he sees Heimdall.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good scene, but that's it.
Yeah.
And Thor doesn't do anything. I actually think Dark World as a Thor movie. Well, no, because Loki is in Avengers, right? And that creates its own energy, right?
Right.
Like Thor and Loki together can only make a movie so bad. Then maybe Dark World, then Avengers, then this film, then the two, the third and fourth Avengers movies, then Ragnarok. I don't think it's better than Ragnarok. I would even say Thor is better in this than he is in Endgame. I have a little bit of issues with sort of the fat suit Thor thing. Doesn't I go back and forth on it.
But
I get what they're trying to do.
Their way of showing trauma.
Yeah. It was
I like Fat Thor. I wish they kept Fat Thor. Hear me out. I wish they kept Fat Thor because when he became he looked more Viking as when he was Fat Thor. When he transformed when he had
the braids.
Yeah, and then his beard was also brown. I was like, oh, that's sick. Oh, come on, big Fat Thor. I like Fat Thor better than I like Fat Zeus.
I agree with you on that.
Well, aesthetically, but outside of that, nothing.
No, I think Fat Thor actually showed a progression of the weight of his trauma. His mom died in Dark World.
Right.
He lost the whole Asgard and his father in Ragnarok. And then they kill his brother and everything in Infinity War. I mean, somebody who works with trauma and grief and everything, and somebody who has dealt with tons of loss and death myself.
And
I get it. That weight loss, that weight gain and eating does turn into a thing. So I actually like that progression, even in how he handled the emotional beats. And that is you would use humor, and then he became the punching bag for War Machine was punching on him. Rocket was punching on it actually hit right. They got it right.
So thank you for making my point. So, but if I was doing my just Thor movie rankings, it would be Ragnarok, Thor. Yes, I like Thor.
With the camera angles like this the whole time.
I like Thor, and there's a reason I like Thor. I don't know. I like Thor because everyone else is super great in it, and then Chris Hemsworth is just
amazing.
And then Chris Hemsworth is a rookie. You could tell he's the weakest link in that movie, but everyone was really good. Even Idris Elba in that movie was amazing. And everyone is just so good in that movie. And Chris is okay, well, I'm Chris Hemsworth. I look good. Another. Right. I'm going to be shirtless for a good portion of this movie. So yes.
Got to keep people entertained.
Right. But no, I like Thor better than this movie. Than obviously this movie. And then Dark World. Yeah, Dark World. But in the grand scheme of things, I think Ragnarok, because it's a Thor movie. Endgame, then Infinity
You
War.
put an Endgame ahead of Infinity War. Interesting.
I think Endgame is a better movie, anyways.
Really? There we go. Oh, that's implying. I say this as somebody who adores Endgame. Like I love that movie.
But you think
But
Infinity
I
War
think
is better?
Infinity War is just straight better.
No.
Let's kill him properly this time.
You know what? We're just making casts as we're just making episodes as we're going, right? We're like,
I
oh, we
will
got
always watch those two movies. Like you just say,
I'm
give
like,
me a time. I'm like,
we
I'll
got to
spend 6
hear
hours
because
of my
we got to
life
hear your
watching.
Spider-Man, and now we have to hear why Endgame or why Infinity was better. So that's like two future episodes right now at this point.
I love them both. Like that's the thing about it.
Yeah, I love them both.
I do. I love them both, but I think I don't know. Maybe because I just died in Endgame when the hammer thing. I can't see any scene in Infinity War that just beats the hammer scene. I can't see any scene in Infinity War that beats the Avengers Assemble scene. I just maybe just because I'm just like a mark, and they got me right there.
They got me, but you're forgetting. Like, I feel that movie just is kind of it drags.
I didn't care about that because when we got to Avengers Assemble, nothing else happened. Like
that movie was a book. That movie.
Listen,
was
once they gave me that
a
splash
comic book.
page,
It was a comic
when they
book
gave me
for
that
real.
splash page, I don't think anything else mattered.
Even the time travel stuff. That was like the comic book Age of Ultron.
Right.
Like they really put a comic book on screen.
So
I mean,
again,
I don't know. Like the in Infinity War, like when Thor shows up, like that to me, like was like one of the best like comic entrances of all time. Like because it's also it pays off the whole movie, right? Like because you sell them and it's like boom, and he's just killing, and then like when they are crushed at the end of that, and Cap is like, I've like failed entirely, like my whole life has failed, and then Tony, like when Spider-Man dies in Tony's arms,
right?
Like I'm like, whoa. I knew this was all gonna get undone, but I'm like, this is legitimately like upsetting. Like this
But
is
it was a tear pull with the I don't want to go, I don't want to go.
yeah, I don't want to go, and then like Steve just is so broken, and he's just like
he hits the old god.
Yeah, it's just like wow.
Yeah, I mean that's cool.
And then Gamora,
like,
poor
Avengers Assemble again.
That is good stuff. Yeah,
there's nothing in the entire MCU that's better than that little scene right there. But again, I think because I like Fat Thor, I just think Endgame is better. So it's Endgame, Infinity War, Thor, obviously, Avengers, because Thor and Loki, like I like seeing them together. I will agree with you on the last two. For your last two, right? It's definitely Dark World. I still don't remember. I don't remember anything from that movie. I think I just made sure that movie doesn't exist. I don't watch that movie. Like I commend people that do like their entire MCU watch and add like Dark World.
That funeral scene was a great visual.
It's a weirdly actually super important MCU movie though.
Is
like
it?
Yes, because it introduces the Reality Stone. It's back in Endgame. Like if you had guessed, but it's like, oh, they're doing time travel. They're going to travel to any of the MCU movies in the past. It's like, which one are they going to travel to? Oh, Thor: The Dark World.
They did go to the Dark World.
Like
they did.
And like Thor's mom dying is a beat that they've come back to. Is in Ragnarok,
right?
It's Infinity War, it's in Endgame, it's in this film, right? Like. And it's like Dark World is important to what goes on in this film. Like,
dude, did you know in Dark World? So there's a scene when they're out eating. Darcy and Jane are out eating, and Darcy mentions then that her mom has cancer. Her mom died of cancer then, but then in this movie, she's talking. She remembers her talking to her mom about her having cancer or something like that. That's off.
Wait, is that
if you go back,
is Darcy says
Darcy,
that her
or
mom
was
had
it
cancer,
was
or did
it
Jane says that her mom?
It was Jane with Darcy. It was Jane talking to Darcy.
So Jane,
right.
Yeah, no, I think that's
Jane's mom
dies of cancer.
Yeah, cancer in this film, right?
So is that like continuity, right, or is that?
Yeah, that was
Jane. I don't remember that scene.
I did a full Thor rewatch and going into this. That's the reason why I was like, That's weird that they brought this
Again,
stuff into the
I
movie.
commend people who are brave enough to go back to see Dark World because I do not remember that movie, but I do know the Reality Stone was in that movie. Yeah, was that what
It was
gave
in
James
her.
cancer?
That's why I'm so. I thought that they were going to go that way, but they decided to
I
just.
wish they did because it would help.
Yeah,
I don't
because like
know.
that, because you're already going to die from the stones, so having exposure to the stones
Yeah,
it would
because
make sense.
isn't that what gave Photon's mom cancer?
Yeah, didn't we talk about this? You and I on a cast before.
No, they did not. I don't think they
They
said
didn't
why she had
say.
cancer.
I
No,
swore they said that she died of cancer.
I could.
no, they did
I
say
mean,
that
she
she died
does
of
die of
cancer,
cancer,
but
but it
they, I
doesn't
don't think they
say
say why she got
it was
why
exposure to
why
it was exposure to the space
Monica.
stones.
What is the name? I forgot Monica's mom's name. I keep forgetting it.
Rambo,
Yeah, whatever.
Maria.
Maria. There we go, Maria.
Maria, yeah.
Yeah.
So they never said it was exposure to the space storms. I thought that was.
Nobody has flat out said it yet, but I'm thinking that's what it is.
There,
It's
I
like
mean,
If
it's going
they
to come out
do that,
eventually.
that's like Watchmen territory. But
but
whatever.
there has to be a reason why Monica hates Carol.
Right?
When we
But I
last saw
thought
Monica, she was Carol's biggest fangirl.
wasn't it
So-
because she left and never came back while her mom was dying? Or again, they
It's
never
not
said,
specifically
right?
said in WandaVision, so
Huh?
it's not
It's not.
specifically said in WandaVision. She's just
Yeah.
like, I don't. She's like, I don't want to have
Yeah,
anything to do with it.
we don't talk about her. But
Yeah.
anyways, so
We're going to
Thor,
get Secret Empire.
Love and Blunder. I'm sorry, Thor, Love and Thunder. Finally, final ratings for this movie, and then
Predictions.
no ratings.
Predictions.
No.
I'll just go out. I'll say I'll give this a B plus.
That's pretty fair. Oh, it's a D for me. I'll just go there. I just tell you now, it's a D. Doesn't cut it. See, that's the thing. I don't think there's a middle move for this movie. I think it's you either love it or you just don't care about it. That's what I'm saying, actually. KB.
KB, did we lose KB?
I think we did. I think we lost KB.
Yeah.
So it's a B for you. It's a D for me. We'll probably get his ratings later.
Do you want to see if he comes? Wait, do we want to vamp for a minute and see if it comes?
We could do that.
So I have a question for you, Mo, that I was going to actually ask. If, say, circa 2018, would you have guessed that Thor would be the original Avenger that has the most movies?
No, I'm thinking Captain America.
You would have thought Steve?
Not
Tony?
Steve. Not Tony. Reason I'm thinking not Tony is because he's at that point he was in everybody's movie.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I'm thinking he's in everybody's movie. He's not, at this point, Kevin is like, we either are gonna pay you or we're just gonna keep cameoing you, right? And at that point, that's all he gets is cameos. Welcome back.
Thanks.
All right, what's your rating, KB?
I had to give it a B. B plus.
Wow. You don't like this movie.
I don't like this movie, but as we did the ranking of the movies with Thor, I have to say I prefer this direction than what we've been.
Wow.
That makes sense. So
I mean, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, because
I just can't get jiggy
we've seen Thor 1 to me was not good. Now, mind you, Anthony Hopkins, I forget the actor's name. No. What I'm saying is Anthony Hopkins was amazing in Thor 1 and Dark World. I forget the actor's name who played Frigga.
Rene Russo, right? Isn't that
Rene Russo? You're right. Phenomenal in both movies and in Endgame, right? Tom Hiddleston, just amazing, right? But that's it. Like when you look at those, and then you look at Avengers, what Thor had to work with, and Age of Ultron, what Tom Hiddleston had to work with. Not Tom Hiddleston. The actor who plays Chris Hemsworth had to work with. And then you look at this, like, yeah, sorry, this ranks higher. So because of
That's crazy
this.
because I think
It's a step
I'm
back,
over
but it's
here
not a
thinking the
way
cast.
horrible step back.
I'm thinking the cast in Thor 1 is better than the cast in this movie.
Which is true, but I feel like this is a better
And
direction for
stronger.
this character.
I think it's only because like that movie had Anthony Hopkins, who's like one of the like greatest actors of his generation, right? Like an iconic like
Idris
actor.
Elba
Like,
was amazing.
he's technically in this movie, so
Oh, come on.
Look, here's the thing. Idris Elba has a very special place in my heart coming from Baltimore, and he plays Stringer Bell in The Wire. Okay, so anything Idris Elba's in, he's by default always going to get love from us.
I don't think he's used very well in Thor 1. It's really not actually until Thor 3 that they use him very well.
Really?
They were pretty comic book accurate though. If you think of Heimdall in the comics, and
definitely
they did a race switch as well and all that kind of stuff. But
I didn't care about that. I thought it was.
But like for me, the race switch is it's just like you cast Idris Elba, you want him to be like an actor who like is active. You know what I mean? Not you know what I mean? Like give him more to work with than just like
not thespian Idris Elba.
That's.
But in the comics, if you look at Heimdall, he didn't really do much for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I would have cast him as like Balder the Brave or something. You know what I mean? Like where he's more of like Thor's like active equal because he's just like a great actor.
So it's Anthony Hopkins, Tom Hiddleston, Stellan Skarsgård, who plays Selvig, Idris Elba
in this movie too.
And then you had Rene Russo's Frigga, and you have a bunch of, you had his buddies. I think
Warrior Story.
Yeah.
I mean, look, this one has Christian Bale, like inarguably an amazing actor, right? The actress who plays, whose name is going to be Valkyrie, she's excellent. Like, it's got Natalie Portman. You don't like her?
Tessa Thompson.
Tessa Thompson.
Really,
there we go.
I don't really care for her. I mean, because this is probably why it's coming from Westworld.
Oh, right. I thought she was okay in Westworld. Her character was annoying, but I thought the acting was fine. I haven't watched it for the second season, so I
think the show jumped the shark after season 1. But
see, I like Tessa Thompson because of her work that she did in Creed. So,
was she what was she in Creed?
She's the girlfriend in Creed.
Oh, she's the girlfriend in Creed.
Yeah, and she plays like she's deaf, and or should I say hearing impaired? Yeah.
Oh, hearing impaired. Yeah, I think she goes full. I don't know. But yeah, I don't care for her.
Doesn't she have cancer in the second movie? Did she have cancer?
Man,
I don't remember. That's right. They did make a sequel to Creed.
I don't care for her.
She kills it.
I don't care for her as an actor, so I didn't buy her. Excuse me. I haven't cared for her in any of her Thor movies.
Now I will say, in Ragnarok they sexualized her more than they did in this one, which I thought was pretty cool.
I mean, in this one, she's
queen or king. She's not.
Yeah, she's king. And when she goes to grab Thunderbolt, she kisses one of the maidens. She does the, she's like.
Go back and look at how they have her posture and sitting.
I think so.
Yeah,
you're 100% right. The way she walks, like in that big scene where she makes everything explode.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think they did exploit. They do exploit. They're gonna always exploit Chris Hemsworth, and I think he's always game for it.
Yeah,
he put the work in to get those.
He's like, I'm going to work out, and you will see.
He worked on his legs this time around.
You will see.
Well, he had the butt scene
because he had to show his butt. He's like, you will see these abs. I don't think there's a Thor movie, or is there a Thor moment where we haven't seen him shirtless?
He's like shirtless in Dark World. He like takes the bath for no reason. It's just like I'm like, you know what? Look, these movies have so much like female cheesecake. Give the male cheesecake.
Ragnarok doesn't he take don't they have him stripped in Ragnarok when they're cutting his hair and getting him ready?
He's definitely shirtless in a scene.
Yeah, he is shirtless. I mean, mind you, they have to put butts in seats, right? And it can't be all guys. That they put in.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, it could be all guys.
I mean, it could be all guys.
It could be all guys. Like,
Well, this way
don't
you
say
get it.
you get everybody.
You get everybody.
Yeah.
all inclusive. You know.
Yeah.
Did this movie come out in July or June? Because I mean,
it came out in.
It came out in July.
Yeah.
Came out in July.
I
think it missed.
Okay.
But KB, I asked Mo this question. So let's like rewind back to 2018 before the end of the big first half or whatever, the MCU's big storyline. Would you have guessed that Thor would be the original Avenger with the most movies?
No, I would have thought some kind of way they would have brought back Captain America for another movie, or they would have paid Robert Downey Jr.
No, they're not paying Robert Downey Jr. because you would have to pay him the house. At that point,
but here's the thing: I would have.
No,
hear me out, Mo. I would have figured that they would have, with what they were putting out, because remember, Feige had did this huge announcement of movies that he was going to put out after Infinity War, and I like my thoughts was there's no way that these are going to put butts in seats, right? Some of the movies that he was announcing in Disney Plus shows. So I was like, I'm going to guess that you're going to back up the money truck for to bring Robert Downey Jr. back for at least one movie.
No.
Not knowing that they were going to kill him off.
I wouldn't do it. And this is what I'm saying. It wouldn't work for me because it's we can get butts and seats, but what is the return?
That's what my mind was.
He will make half of what, like, let's listen, right? You had to give him, well, it was rumored that he got like close to $1 billion to do the last two Avengers movies, right? That was the rumor.
Like, I think he did if you include his merchandising back end, like all not up front. He didn't get
not up front, right?
Not up front, but like
to do two movies. If you
we lost Mo this time.
But I mean, it's a great picture of Mo.
It is. Oh.
There we go.
For a second.
Yeah, we lost you.
You lost me for a second. Okay, I'm back. Okay. But what I'm saying is, if you pay him close to $1 billion to do two movies, right? You would assume to now do like one full movie of his own, like, because that was like a right. So between Avengers Endgame and Avengers Infinity War, they made like $5 billion, right?
Right.
Because I think Endgame made 3.
You made a lot of money.
Well, let's just say you made $5 billion.
You made a small nation's worth of money. Yeah.
Yes, small nation's worth of money. That's crazy. So yeah, and you paid one actor $1 billion to do two of those movies, or close to that. How much do you think you'd pay him to do one movie that could possibly make $1 billion? Because he wouldn't make all his money on the front end of that, right? He'd make merchandising, executive producer credits. You'd be giving him the house to do one. It's not worth it.
That was my prediction. Because think about it, you have Armor Wars coming out, right? I don't know how you make Armor Wars without him, but they are.
I think you could definitely do Armor Wars.
You can.
They actually set up Armor Wars really well, actually. I think now.
I'm saying 2018, not
2018.
2018.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. My because Roy had asked, and which one would I think? 2018.
Definitely Captain America for me, because he's cheaper.
Yeah.
I'm thinking I would have been thinking on the money side. I'm like, oh, he's definitely cheaper. That doesn't cost you anything to bring him on. They're still no.
Not Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, exactly.
But he was getting expensive.
But would you say his Benedict expensive?
No,
I think Benedict
is expensiver.
Yeah,
I think Benedict is probably expensiver, but Benedict is also game. Like that's that's the thing that separates him, I think, from Downey and Evans, is that he's just game, because he came into it like Downey became like Robert Downey Jr., like all explanation points, right? And Chris Evans now thinks he's better than it, right? You can definitely tell that Chris Evans thinks he's better than it.
He thinks he's better than what he really is, which is really interesting. He did a great job as Cap. He directed a movie recently, and I'm like,
okay. Knives Out too, but Knives Out traded on the fact that Captain America won't. Well, spoilers for Knives Out. For Knives Out. that movie definitely traded on Captain America is not the killer. Like they definitely traded on that, but he's good in that movie. I think he's a fine actor. He's not like, but like Benedict Cumberbatch already had this
was already
career.
Benedict before he came into this,
and he's just also willing to just. He's like, yeah, look, why would I not set my family up for forever?
Years.
And also I'll still make that the cowboy movie, right? Like he'll just like he's like, I'm game. Yeah, write the check, tell me to read this, I'll read the script, and I'll like and he also because he also came up doing fandom stuff too, he doesn't treat the material like he doesn't give interviews where you're just like, oh yeah, he's just he treats it with like he you can feel some not respect's not the right word, but he's willing to like meet the fans halfway. What like a lot of these actors are not willing to do. So like Benedict Cumberbatch is like the perfect person to be the new face of the MCU. Like as the person who's in all this other stuff because he's game, he's willing to do these cameos. As long as the check clears, he's cool, and he's like good for an interview, right?
Quick question: what do you think? So, do you think Hemsworth is? Where do you think Hemsworth is?
I think he's now. Yeah, go ahead.
I think he's excited now because of where his character has gone direction-wise. Because it looks like he's having fun in these roles. To me, it looks like he's having like total fun.
I think he's game when Disney meets him halfway. So I think like he'll do Thor movies, he'll do Avengers movies, but he's not going to be on like if they do like a Valkyrie TV show, he's not going to he's not going to go to Georgia.
Okay, so you think he's like as long as this is I get something like out of it, like you said, shoot at home, work at home close to my family, like if I get to do that, right? Of course, but he will do other movies that would send him out of the country. But he will work only on these Marvel
for the money. The Avengers movies, I'll go for the money. But like you want, and he, for Avengers, he doesn't need to be on the set the whole movie.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah,
but Thor, But I wouldn't be surprised if he does if Thor 8. Like
that's the next question. Do you think we're gonna get more Thor movies with him? You know what? I halfway thought. Confession, right? I halfway thought at the end of this, with Jane, I'm like, oh, he's gone, and Jane is gonna be Thor, right? I halfway thought that, but
Portman is definitely not game for that. I don't.
When they didn't cut his arm off, I realized he wasn't gonna die in this movie.
The question is what's so weird is I actually think on a storytelling level, I don't think we will see Thor again unless it's an Avengers movie or a Thor movie, because what other movies does it make sense for Thor to be in, right? I guess he's kind of back in the orbit of New Asgard again, which he wasn't at the end of Endgame. So maybe that's something he's back kind of part-time on Earth, but maybe not, right? Because he's off having adventures.
He was off having adventures,
So that new status quo is a cool status quo, I think, for a Thor movie, right? Where Hercules is trying to track him down, but Thor has this kid he's taking care of, right? That's a cool hook for a Thor 5, right? Mm-hmm. But and then of course you're gonna have Thor in Avengers, right? Whatever the next Avengers thing is, but I wouldn't expect to see him in whatever the post Guardians 3 Guardian movie is, or if they end up this rumor with this Nova project, right? I couldn't expect to see him in that. I just think Thor is either going to be in Thor movies or he's going to be in Avengers movies. I don't think we're going to see him in other stuff. Maybe, I also don't think Hemsworth would be willing to go to London to do a Loki cameo. Right?
That's so sad.
But follow me on this.
I would actually pay to watch them talk to each other for 2 hours. Come on.
But hear me out. I feel like you're going to get a Siege movie, right? That's either going to be Thor 5 or an Avengers movie coming soon. You don't have New Asgard on Earth unless you're going to set up for Siege. That would be one of the steps coming. And then I feel like they showed Thor being able to enchant Mjolnir in this when he was talking about
they did when he was take care of her.
Which makes me think you're going to set up for Secret Empire because now Thor can enchant Mjolnir.
But he did twice though. He didn't enchant Mjolnir.
First one was Odin.
No, he did. He enchanted the hammer.
When Thor didn't mean to enchant power.
Right, he didn't mean to.
But no, when he gave the kids powers.
Well, he gave them the power of Thor.
Yeah, but I was talking about Mjolnir. He gave the kids the
power. Was an accident.
For a limited time.
For a
limited time.
Yeah, for a limited time. I wouldn't. I don't know. I mean, there were rumors, right, that
If
like
they did
while
see
Hemsworth
them,
and Hiddleston got along on a personal level,
Check when I do it.
Hemsworth did not like that Loki was kind of the main character of all the Thor movies,
I can
and
believe
so
that.
and so that's why I kind of like now Loki has his own like Loki
Right.
thing, and Thor has his own Thor thing, and
so
everybody's
so Thor might never. We will never. There's a guarantee we're not going to see him unless it's a Thor thing, Thor
Or Avengers.
movie or Avengers. Whenever.
Or
to me.
some kind of way Loki pops up in the Doctor Strange or the Agatha All Along series. Because
No, I don't see him there. I don't see him anywhere. I don't.
I mean Loki. I think we
yeah,
see
that's what
Loki
I'm talking about. Loki. That's what I'm talking
Oh,
about.
okay.
Loki. I could see Loki being in something else. He could be an Ant-Man, since Kang is supposed to be an Ant-Man.
Right.
Or is an Ant-Man,
Yeah.
right? He's the confirmed villain of Ant-Man, right? So
Yeah.
I could see Loki being a cameo in Ant-Man. I could see Loki
Ooh.
showing up to stuff. Well, and definitely Loki. I think that we see Loki and Thor together in Secret Wars.
Ooh, I can't wait. Last question. I think this has already kind of been asked, or we've already almost talked about this. What is your prediction for the next Marvel movie? Seeing as this Marvel movie is kind of divisive. I'm not gonna ask why you think the next Marvel movie might be divisive, but do you think the next Marvel movie will be, or do you think it's gonna be really generally accepted?
Well, Roy, I'm gonna let you go first because
So I'm gonna say that. Are we talking about? So are we talking about? I think that the most recent Marvel movies have been divisive in a mostly normal way,
Right.
where like some people like the movie, some people didn't like the movie. Okay, we're normal people. I think the next Marvel movies could be super divisive, but it's going to be divisive because of racism. And I think it's going to like I think what it's going to be though is I do think it's going to not be as strong a movie most likely as the original Black Panther, which is going to
Right.
give racists more of an opening to
Right.
just do their racist nonsense. And again, Mo hasn't, maybe Kyle knows a little bit, but like with who they're about to announce the villain being, there's a chance that there will be literally no white main characters. It'll be the first MCU movie with like 0 white people, right? In it, like Shang-Chi came really close, right? And well, some of the Razor Fist guy.
Oh, the hand or whatever.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
the dude was the bad guy. No, he was the dude from Creed 2.
other day announced that they were going to put what's his name from Atlantis in it. What's my guy?
They have not officially announced that. I do
No
not
more.
want to like.
They don't want to spoil it.
Well, they're going to announce it in Comic-Con next week,
Right.
Like, or 2 weeks from now. Like, it's going to.
But
like,
is he the villain in this? He's not going to be the villain in this movie, is he?
Well,
are they going to do the two King storyline?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know,
know.
but like
We don't know.
look. Just if you're interested in viewing this, Google like official Marvel promotional stuff leaked, like real stuff, not like fan leak, like actual images from the movie, right? Like we see what Suri's costume is going to be. Like you can see this stuff, right? I am going to bet that Black Panther 2 is going to be super divisive because of race. I think the movie's going to be good. I actually think probably like I think on a quality level, I think I'm going to really like it. But I think it's going to be super divisive because of race. And we almost went racism, sexism, but now we have this Ant-Man movie in the middle. So it's going to be racism.
We almost hit it back to back.
Sexism. So I think we're in for a different level of division.
When is Ant-Man coming out?
The two
beginning of next year. It's the first
crazy to get it back to back. It's
in Doctor Strange's slot next year. So February, March.
Wow.
So KB, do you think the next Marvel movie? The reason I didn't want to say the name is because obviously, but do you think the next Marvel movie will be divisive?
Yes. Like Roy said, racism is going to play a part, and then you have to remember what BP brings is different from a lot of other movies, right? Which is, I think, a thing that Shang-Chi brought, which is you bring a race of people. Sorry, my kids are playing on the steps, but it brings a group of people who don't typically watch Marvel movies at all. Well, black people, African Americans. I mean, for those who don't know, but it brings it to the theater to watch this. Like when Black Panther 1, when it did numbers, like it
People
sold
were
$1
dressing
billion
up,
to
and
2 billion
it
people.
was amazing. It was
a cultural event, you know. because it was like, oh my god, this is a black superhero on a big screen, and it can't. So and then that trickled over into Infinity War, where you had a lot of people who didn't really watch superhero movies at all that was happy to see Infinity War just to watch it, and they were pissed off that Black Panther died because
Yeah, but
you killed the black one. So I'm
actually,
being real. I'd rather be
you're right.
100
No,
than
people
anything.
did say that.
you know?
Some of my students said that. I was like,
Yeah.
he's gonna come back. You understand this, right?
Right.
It's
So-
like,
It's actually a
Dude.
compliment that they killed him because he died with Spider-Man. So
oh,
Yeah,
God, I'm
so-
crying.
But
But,
that happened, you know. So you're gonna have that, but then you're gonna have what are you gonna do now that T'Challa's dead, right? The real life T'Challa, right? Chadwick
yeah,
Boseman.
most likely the character too, since they said they're not recasting him, right? So
Right. So so now you're creating another thing that's going to divide the fandom, because you're going to be like, oh well, they should have recasted him because this movie sucked because of this, or they did a good job not recasting him because this would have sucked if they did this, or you know, it's going to cause a lot of division, I would say there, and then they're coming up with this World of Wakanda TV show, which I'm hoping they don't try to spend a lot of time trying to set that Disney Plus show up on in this movie, because that's going to cause even more division with the base.
So I have a question for you
Oh.
too. You think
Oh.
that Chadwick's death, besides now that it's passed, like, do you think it's gonna help Black Panther 2 at this point, where like
no.
it's gonna give people like they're gonna want to see it because they, as KB said, to what they're gonna do now that he's died, and a lot of people are gonna be are still processing, right, that like the rising like black actor of his generation tragically died, right? Or do you think it's just going to unbelievably hurt it? Because Chadwick's performance carried a lot of Black Panther. And
so I think this movie opens at like a crazy number because of Chadwick's death. Now, here's where I say the death might not help. If this movie doesn't do well, you're gonna have people say, "Dang, the person who made the movie isn't in the movie," right? Because as you said, he carries a lot of Black Panther. He carries a lot of Black Panther. He carried his scenes in Infinity War. Get this man a shield, like he does. And then when he comes back in Endgame, it's like, oh my god, like, so yes, if this movie doesn't do well, I believe, as you said, the ism is gonna pop up, and those ists are gonna be like, this is why. But even if in reality, it's probably going to be a reason why the movie doesn't do well, because you need, in my opinion, and then you have the people like me, right, who feel like we do need a Black Panther.
We do,
right? We do need a Black Panther, and so because he dies, you're supposed to be cast and give the people a Black Panther. Not a Black Panther, because we're
gonna have a Black Panther, right? There's gonna be a Black Panther.
We need a T'Challa. My bad.
Okay, that's a difference.
It's too early in the character's arc for you not to have one. James Rhodes isn't even he's not a super important character in anybody's estimation. He might be, but he's not. You didn't say forget this character, you recast, right? I know I shouldn't be comparing James Rhodes and Black Panther to T'Challa,
but I get why you say that.
I get what you're saying.
I get it.
It's like, okay, we're like, man, and I feel like when I talk about this subject, or when I think about it, I borderline go into a toxic masculinity sense of it, right? But like, you do still need the male version of the character to carry it, because I think you might be introducing Shuri as Black Panther.
That's what I'm scared of. So I'm not scared of it from
that.
No.
I'm okay with that, but I would have felt
I'm
like
not scared of it for that. I'm scared
I think I need a natural progression.
Yeah, the actor's not.
Huh?
Yeah, the actor is who I'm scared of. Yeah, I'm scared of her having that role and her opening up her mouth in front of a camera when the director says cut and she actually has to do an interview.
But then what? Okay, but what are you saying? The same thing about Van Dyke? Oh, sorry, what's her name? Hope.
Low key, I do feel the same way about Hope Van Dyke.
Is it Hope?
Yeah,
it's Hope Van Dyne. Yeah,
no.
Because Janet is played by Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah. So are you saying the same thing about Hope?
Yes, because she can't keep her mouth closed either. Problem is,
But you know what's so
but
funny?
here's the other thing. But Letitia Wright goes even further because a lot of stuff she speaks about is real when it comes to race stuff. But with this movie, this character, and even with the name Black Panther attached to her, and her open up her mouth saying that, does it actually help or hurt the brand, both Black Panther, Disney, Marvel Studios, and her having a major role going forward?
I think since the pandemic thing, I think they've kind of had a way to like handle this and like kind of like put a handle on it. Maybe not so much for Evangeline Lilly.
Yeah, because
Because
She and Wright were kind of the same thing, right? Where they said
yeah,
something
they're in the
so
same
incredibly
boat.
stupid, and then Disney threatened to take their jobs away, and suddenly they got quiet.
Yeah, so I
but she
think
mentions a lot of race stuff too. But
but
not
I think it's
Evangeline,
easier.
but
I think it's
Letitia.
easier to handle them. I just my thing is, I don't care that the character will become like Letitia Wright will become Black Panther because she is, Shuri is Black Panther at some point, right?
Mhm.
I just feel like we haven't had enough of the black male superhero in this genre, but we are getting Blade, so I guess that's the
I mean, there's
trade
um
off.
um uh, what's the guy? M'Baku could become Black Panther.
No, it's definitely Shuri.
We'll see.
Th- there's actual word on the street that it is Shuri.
I mean, it makes sense.
It makes sense to me, but who again? We live in the year of our Lord 2022. Who knows what's going to happen, right?
And if
Like,
that happens, if Shuri does get it again, because it's Letitia Wright, but if Shuri does get it, we were talking about the movie The Princess earlier and how a lot of people felt about that. Just get ready because
so then you get the racism and the sexism in one movie.
in one movie, and then you get a break, and then you get another.
Then we get sexism. I think also problem Black Panther has, right, is tragically they lost Chadwick, right?
Yes.
Strong actor number one in the original Black Panther, and then there's no Michael B. Jordan, right? Either. Right?
Yes.
The two best actors from the original Black Panther are not in this film, right? One tragically and one for obviously story reasons.
Yeah.
Right. And so yeah, I think this movie has like a lot. But I think I'm going to enjoy it, like because I like all the supporting Black Panther characters.
Yes.
Right.
I think you're right, but it didn't help that Letitia Wright became what she became.
Okay.
It did not help, and I think again that's another thing. Like, but I think Disney handled that. Still, like, listen, there's a lot of other Black women that can take this job right now. Like, we've done it before, so don't think we won't do it again.
But it's like, here's what your choice is: running your mouth. Here's a pile of money. Do you see that pile of money over there?
Right.
Or running your mouth. And
you see all these toys that we're going to come out with that have your face on it? Do you see these?
You get money from
money in your pocket,
and it's guaranteed work. That's the other thing about being in this space, right? Like, it's just like you can just do it until you don't want to do it anymore, right? Like, if you just get on the gravy train, and then you can get off and then get back on if you want, right? Like,
hey, look, Riri Williams. That's even more money because you're going to be involved in that.
Oh my God! Well, that is it for Thor: Love
No,
and
it is.
Thunder.
No, because Riri is supposed to live.
No, I get that. I'm just.
What is she supposed to be? She's supposed to
at some point
she gets money, Tony's money, and Wakanda's money.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, right? That's what she is.
Yeah, but Riri and Wakanda, Riri and Shuri at some point do intersect.
Oh yeah, but I mean, like, the setup for her is like, because Tony gives that money in Civil War.
Yes.
And then Wakanda gives the money at the end of Black Panther.
Yes.
And that's
Riri, yeah. But yeah, thank you guys for joining to do Thor: Love and Thunder. We have 2 B+ and a D, which is the general consensus for this movie. It's either you really like it or you don't. We will be back to talk Spider-Man No Way Home because somebody said they didn't love it. They liked it. How dare you? How dare you, Roy?
And the boys.
Hurt. I'm so hurt. And the boys, Roy's not going to be there for that. We got to talk the boys, which scares me because of the real world people that think, that's another conversation.
Yo, we're going to talk the boys sober? Like, because the last time we talked.
Yes, I'm not doing that show not sober. That's what I'm saying. I'll say that right now.
You know I got another bottle, right?
No, I don't want it because I don't remember doing an Umbrella Academy.
That was like our best show.
We'll be back to do that for you, and of course, we will be here when in November after Black Panther to talk about that. I can't wait.
And how it breaks the nation.
Birth of a new nation. Thank you very much, Roy, and thank you very much, KB. We'll catch you for the next one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Peace.
Peace.
Kids, get your popcorn now. Let me tell you the story of the space Viking, Thor Odinson. He was no ordinary man. He was a god. After saving planet Earth for the 500th time, Thor set off on a new journey. Well, he got in shape. He went from dad bod to god bod. And after all that, he reclaimed